Mama won't leave the home, and Papa was a rolling stone. What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. And today is Saturn's Day, Saturday, August the 27th, 2022. And the time is 7:45 Central. As always, brothers, good powerful message. We're going to jump right in as we're gearing up to the next series that starts on September the 2nd, where we're revealing, explaining, illuminating, and simplifying how to use debt to get rich, to establish what we call mental peace and happiness. Debt being credit being your personality, your purpose. And today we want to lead into that to get you to understand the source, the prana, the pneuma, the spirit of this total freedom, happiness, credit, and debt. So credit, debt, using it to establish a mental disposition of peace and harmony is the result of using source, which is neutral. But we have a conundrum because of the terms that we've been given that really creates a sense of confusion, just like the word quantum physics. And we were taught that word had to do with numbers, when in fact quanta, simply means spirit. So we talk about spirit. So does the word neutral, which means neutrons or neurons. Today we want to talk about God as a neuron or neutrons. And these neurons or neutrons are neutral. They are the source of, or that empowers your opinion. And so this goes a little deeper down the rabbit trail than most folk like to go. And again, I am sitting in a hotel room, so I got to use my hotel voice out of town. As many of you have been following me on social media, today I've been posting everything that's been going on here in the DFW area. And we had an awesome time today. Got a chance to hang out all, yesterday and today. So that's why, again, I'm here in DFW or Dallas, hanging out with my daughter for a baby shower, and it was awesome. But getting back to the topic today, it's extremely important to understand the neutrality of God, or the neurons of God. And so God is in neurons. From the perspective of over understanding on a cellular and a molecular level, the neurons of the brain helps you and I maintain. And it is this ability to over understand how these neurons that's inside of your brain and my brain gives us the ability to establish what we call, a frequency or wave of vibration that establishes what some would call prosperity, or what I would call peace, or seeing the glass half full. And so once you understand that religions and the findings of science, or the assumptions, so religion is an assumption, and these assumptions should be based upon what is called causality. And causality is the explanation of the brain's mentality or activity. And so there is this activity that takes place in the brain that we call a neuron. And these neurons that take place in the brain, this is what allows you to maintain. But the problem is you have an opinion. And so what happens is, as we talked about already in the previous message, I think the last message that we did, when we looked at the word aletheia, and it means objectivity. It means coming to a specific choice, opinion, opportunity, and not bringing your unwanted past or your current reality, but forming or using source and attaching it to the wanted future. So there is some tension between your, what we call assumptions, which is your belief systems, and source. Because what happens is we mold source into our opinion, not realizing that source doesn't have an opinion. Source is the fuel that fuels your opinion. And so your opinion is what's used, or we use this brainwave activity that you could call a neuron. Because that's what most would call it. These are neurons. And so what happens is bad people blame God or we blame the devil when you should blame yourself. Because what you did was you took something that was neutral, because it's a neuron, and you infill that neuron with a proton and an electron. Either one's positive and one's negative, and then source, from a scientific perspective, fuels, empowers that belief system. And so it is done unto you as you believe. And all religions say that. So our brains change according to what we are feeling, which comes from what we are thinking. And unfortunately, many of us are in a situation where we are thinking. And what we are thinking about is our unwanted past. We are not thinking about our wanted future. And even if we are thinking about our wanted future, we are thinking about it with a lack of 100% belief. So the human brain is a network of approximately 100 billion neutrons, with neutrals, which are neurons, which are controlled or amplified by what is called a neutrino. These neutrinos are being released by the CMEs in the sky. All this simply means is you got unlimited power. But unfortunately, the unlimited power has been twisted by you because you have a belief system. You're not neutral. So the neutron is supposed to power neutrality. It's not supposed to power your opinion. The neutrons are sent to you because they are neutrinos. They are neutrinos. They are here to activate the nucleotides inside of the DNA and inside of the cell, to activate the mitochondria, to activate the ATP, so you got unlimited chi. But you got a feeling, and the feeling is this is not going to work. Where did you get that feeling from? Well, you got that feeling because in the past, it didn't work in the past. So because it didn't work in the past, you bring in that unwanted past. God is neutral, because God is a neuron. Now, people can argue and debate. But if you look at the neuroscience behind how behavior is hardwired, even your morality is hardwired. This is a new science behind the overwhelming evidence of brain biology. And under all the understanding that when you look at the neuroscience of unlocking how the brain is just a computer that has an electrical plug, which is what we call source, but the thing that runs it is your operating system. Everything is run by your operating system. So the brain is neutral, God is neutral. What powers both the brain and God is what you call an operating system. That operating system is your belief. So that means everything in your entire life, you did it. Because the science says that you did, because the neurons is neutral. So the protons and the electrons use the neurons. So the neurons is where we get the word neutral. And since God is in neurons, the neurons in your brain and the dopamine neuron specifically is totally neutral. It only responds to an operating system. The operating system is your belief. Now the belief and the neuron that releases dopamine inside of the brain, dopamine neurons have a different role and function inside of the brain. They control behavior depending on how they are hooked to your neural or your neuron circuit. That is your nervous system. So all of the 7 billion neurons inside of your brain are controlled by neurotransmitters that are influenced the neural circuitry inside of the brain, which is influenced by your operating system, which is your belief. So if you got 1% feeling that something is not going to work, then that 1% feeling will mess up the neurons inside of the brain. Because remember, the brain only responds to a 100% feeling. If there's any doubt, it's not going to work. So you sabotage everything that you're trying to do. And so it has to not work. It can't work. Because all the neurons that release dopamine, they are all turned on through this synthesis of machinery inside of the brain. And the brain neural network, especially the dopamine part of the brain, which is why all of us, we are hardwired for God, if you want to use that term, because God is neutral. And then when you add in what is called mirror neurons, they just mirror God. But remember, what is God? Well, God is source. What is source? Well, source is what we call a neurotransmitter. What's a neurotransmitter? Well, a neurotransmitter is a enzyme or mineral that activates what we call the mitochondrial DNA or nucleotides or neutrinos, which produces what is called ATP, an ADP, which is what the body uses for energy. So we are all vibrational people. The universe is a universe of vibration. So we are vibrations swimming in vibration. So it is the law of correspondence, the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of gender, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect. You are a spirit wearing a spirit. What does that mean in English? That just simply means that God is neutral, because God is a neuron. So if God is neutral and God is a neuron, then it takes an opinion on operating to direct power. So it's just power. It's not good. It's not evil. It's not for you. It's not against you. It's just available. And you got this unlimited power that's available. Okay, awesome. How do we direct this unlimited power? Because everybody on this call, you have 100 billion neurons, and the different experiences create different neuron activity. And depending upon which neurons get stimulated by you, that produces connections, and these connections become stronger or they become weaker based upon what is called neuroplasticity. So the brain is like plastic that is moldable based upon the operating system, which is your opinion. So if you are of the opinion that you are going to make $1,000, but there is, out of the 7 billion neurons, 6 billion believe that you are going to make $1,000 selling, cupcakes. But there's 1 billion neurons of the 7 billion that is against or does not believe, heart chakra, that you can make $1,000 selling cupcakes. Well, that means that source energy cannot be used because you are double-minded. Now, the way the brain works, the brain can only use source energy if it is 100% aboard. So if the brain is not at 100% aboard, then what you're trying to do is not going to work. Something's going to happen so that way it doesn't manifest. But you're going to blame whatever, somebody else, because of the reason. Because we can't see behind the 7 billion neurons. You got 7 billion neurons. All you got to do is have a made-up mind. Because if your heart is not in it, then the brain can't amplify it. You can't win it. You can't figure out a way. So the brain will always figure out a way as long as your head, your heart, and your gut is all in alignment with your operating system, which is your assignment, which is what? The decision. So if you decide, like right now, I made a decision to get in my car, drive Dallas, hang out with my daughter, go to. So that was a concrete decision. There was no doubt whatsoever. I was coming. So that's why I'm here. That's why it happened. Because I made a decision. So I looked at all of the options, like the show that I did when I was driving on the way down here. You got options, I got options. So heaven is a brainwave and God is a neuron. What does that mean? Now you got to remember, what we're talking about is beyond, because of the neuroplasticity in the neuroscience, is beyond the pale of most, which is like the last series that we just did. It's very difficult. I was talking with today at the event. My sister's daughter, is doing her thesis, PhD in neuroplasticity. And I have two other family members who are also neuroscientists, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy neuroscience, because I can talk about neuroplasticity. And this is where God and science meet. Unfortunately, there are very few alkibidons that's inside of that space, because most alkibidons are inside of a religious space. They cannot understand the connection between science and God. And so what I've just explained to you is the science behind why your life is not more successful, because on the surface you are all in. But if I hook your brain up to an EK or an EGG machine, it will show that there's, of the 7 billion neurons in the brain, because remember, the neurons are neutral. They have no opinion. Neurons get their marching orders from your operating system, which is your opinion. Well, you have an opinion, but you are 95% sure of your opinion. That 5%, it cancels. The brain, the neurons can only fire together if they're all in. That's what the brain, God, source, only responds to a made-up mind based upon the neuroscience of neuroplasticity. So the brain's neurons are not going to fire together and wire together, because depending upon which neurons get stimulated, certain connections become stronger in the brain and certain connections become less efficient. So while other parts of the brain become stronger, there's another part of the brain that becomes weaker. This is what neuroplasticity is. So your job is to understand that, okay, if I am a trained football player, then I am going to create stronger neurons or neural connections that link the two hemispheres of my brain in order for me to get better. And I can do this virtually, or I can do it physically. The brain responds to virtual stimulation the same way that it does physical stimulation, contrary to popular belief. That's the reason why religion is so dangerous. Because you can sit in church and imagine, and the two hemispheres of the brain will come together and create clairvoyance, which is what I call it, which is whole brain thinking. So that means that you become better at it. If you're all in, what do I mean by all in? Well, it's just like a magician, a classical trained singer or a pianist. When you train to become a musician, what happens is your musical creativity stimulates dormant neurons. They are only dormant because you ain't tell them what to do. How do you tell a neuron what to do? Repetition. So visualization is great. Emotionalization is awesome. But if it's not frequently repeated, it's dead. The brain only wires through repetition. So the operating system, today, like I'm sitting here in Dallas, Texas in a hotel room. Had a great time today and getting ready to go, eat dinner with my daughters and their spouses, see my grandkids before I get ready to head back to San Antonio. But the reason I'm sitting here in a hotel in Dallas is because I was 100% all in. And an event came up where the wife and the kids who were supposed to be here, right here with me, but something came up. That was unfortunately, a death in the wife's family. So She couldn't come. But the neurons in my brain, they all in, 100%. That wasn't nothing that was going to stop me from coming. Because I'm getting ready to welcome in, in this case, my daughter's fourth, which will be my fourth grandbaby. Now, I offer condolences and all that other good stuff, but my brain cells, my operating system is Dallas. And I encouraged the wife to support the family members in their grief. But since there was no family member of mine, I wasn't part of my immediate family, I had no connection to the recently departed. So therefore, it didn't affect my brainwave. My operating system was still 100% Dallas. That's why I'm sitting in a hotel in Dallas. Why? No cognitive dissonance. So unfortunately, you make decisions like that, but me and you both, we all do it. You could, like tonight, I could make a decision to go, eat pizza or eat whatever. But since it's a family decision, maybe they want to eat something else. So what we got to do? Well, we got to agree. We got to come together. We got to look at our options. Remember the story that we talked about when I was driving down to Dallas and I was explaining to you guys the problem that everybody's having? And that problem is right now, you have opportunities and options. That's cash. But you are waiting for money. You're waiting. You say, God, you believe, especially if you're a Christian, you're praying like a mother beep, and you believe in Jesus going to just drop the dollars off the sky. And Jesus sends you opportunities and options. And you don't want to take those opportunities and options because they require effort. So what do? You wait on Jesus. If you're going to wake up one day 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, life is going to be over. So unfortunately, options and opportunities clash. So you got to make a choice. You got to take a chance. You got to make a decision. You got to take a risk. That's how you, as we will be breaking down, starting September the 2nd, how I've set up my life using debt and credit so I don't have to depend upon income. Because my income goes up and down. But my credit and my debt is constant because it's already established. So there are certain lines of credit and there are certain cards that I started with that will say $200, $50, $500. Now they're like $20,000. So the banks, they just consider one thing: repayment of the debt. And guess what? If you pay the debt off within 30 days, as I was breaking down, I will explain to you step by step, and I will give you all of my connections. Class starts on September the 2nd because you need to make a decision. Why? Because the economy. We don't know if the economy is going to go up, go down, but I don't really care about the economy because my standard of living is not based upon my income. My standard of living is based upon a step-by-step system that I've established. Now, the dominant culture, they use the same thing, except they use life insurance policies that have a cash option, where they're able to pull out their cash out of their life insurance policy and be their own bank. So I will teach you how to do that on a small scale, mom and pop, just using 3 to 5 credit cards, even if your credit is 400, like mine was when I started. Why? Okay, you build it up to 600, 650. Then you're eligible to do what I did. And I will show you how I get paid once, but on my tax returns, it looks like I get paid 3 times. So if I get $1,000, that's $3,000 because of my system. So that I can do what? I can buy a house, which is the next class on September 15th, which is what I learned. And as I'm talking to everybody, nobody has this knowledge. I just found out about it because I just went through it. So how did I buy $1 million house with not having $1 million worth of income? Based upon the bank. Because the bank refuses to count money as income if it's not run through specific mediums of exchange. So if you don't know this, and the bank doesn't use Equifax, it doesn't use TransUnion, none of the big 3 credit reporting agencies that I found out as I was purchasing my home, if you are self-employed. Now, if you got traditional 9-to-5 corporate America, okay, then the class on the 2nd and the 15th may not be for you. But if you're like me, if you're self-employed, And you want to be able to count all of your income as income because, again, that way you can qualify, especially now, because of $250,000 ain't going to buy you much house in this economy, at least in most parts of the country. So all of this is a result of using source that is neutral. God doesn't have an opinion. You do. You use your opinion, which is your OS, your operating system, and you plug your operating system into, just like right now I have my computer plugged into an electrical socket. It provides power to whatever. The electrical cord that I plugged into the socket is for a laptop. I could unplug the laptop and I could plug in my cell phone. I could unplug the cell phone, and if I had a, TV, I could plug in what did I do, but it's always plugged in. But I could unplug the TV and plug it in. What am I saying? I'm saying that the electrical, it is a source of electricity. It doesn't care what's plugged into it. If I plug something into it, what if I take a screwdriver, stick it into it and hold on to it, I would shock myself. The electrical current, so is the electrical current evil? If I'm dumb enough to get a nail, wet it, put my bare hand on it, stick the nail into the electrical socket, and let the electricity run from that socket into my body and suffer cardiac arrest, and I DYE, should all electrical currents in all homes be banned and governed and, like electrical current control, as they're trying to do with gun control? No, they should not. Why? Just like guns are neutral. It takes a no vibration behind the gun to use it. Same way with God. There is no devil. They're just a low vibrational entity using the energy to do evil shit, and you call it the devil. Now, ain't nothing wrong with it. I just want you to understand you. So that way if you choose to do what I did, I changed my operating system. Now my operating system does not believe in using God's source energy for low vibrational activity. So guess what? Now I don't have no devil no more. So I totally removed the negative out of my life. How did I do it? The same energy has always been there. I just chose to change my opinion about how I would utilize the energy. It is the greatest thing since life, right? Everybody has access to source. You have no problems. You just have opinions and perspectives that differ from mine. If you are of the same opinion and of the same perspective as me and every other high vibrational alkebulan and non-alkebulan, then you would see the glass half full the way I do every day. You would see, because the neurons are neutral. So if you do not practice as much as a classical trained musician, and you do a concert and you bomb it and you suck, you can't hit the notes, you can't play the piano, and people demand a refund, you are going to get angry and you're going to blame the white man, the black man, or the blue man. No, it's your fault. You didn't train to use the musical instrument and play it in a manner that produces harmony so other people will pay you their money. So if you broke today, it's because you refused to take source energy and put it into a form of a product, service, or information that benefits other people more than it benefits yourself. But you're going to blame somebody because you got to. Why? Because you refuse to train. So frequently intense training. Slide out. I don't believe that shit, dog. It's the white man's fault, bro. The white man got his foot on the black man's neck, brother. It makes it hard out here for a pimp. You see, if you just listen to the logic of the average alkebulan, the shit doesn't add up. Most people, as I told you guys, have wealth avoidance. And unfortunately, pretty much 99% of the folk I know, they are avoiding wealth. Most people are self-admitted, hopeless students of failure. because of the inability to realize that you are capable of performing extremely complex issues, regardless of their complexity. The brain is a freaking medical, spiritual marvel. If we just look at mathematics, if you just look at language, you could speak, no matter your age, the brain is capable of learning. You can take a child, they can come back, they can speak 7 languages. But you take the average adult that only speaks 1 language, is difficult here because the brain is lying dormant because they haven't used it. So your job and my job is to understand that there are dormant neurons, that these connections can be strengthened in whatever you are doing at any given time. Whether what you are doing is physical, or whether what you are doing is virtual or mental, you can strengthen the neural pathways of the brain. So your brain, or let me rephrase that, for your brain to get better, we must physically modify the brain. So the foundational mechanism, if you use that term, of brain self-awareness and brain modification is what we call repetition. So the brain recruits, wakes up more neurons that are neutral and say, hey, come on the side of whatever is being frequently repeated. So there are specific neurons and neurotransmitters that releases neuroepinephrine, which is the primary brain chemical that is triggered whenever something is repeated. And so the brain activates these specific neurons and it releases this neuroepinephrine inside of the brain because it increases the brain synapses, which is the brain's ability to recruit more dormant neurons because the neurons are neutral. They don't have a side until you assign them a side. So I'm begging you to tell your neurons, you got 7 billion neurons, 6 billion of the neurons are probably asleep because you've never assigned the neurons something to do. Why not? Because you've never done anything frequently enough with enough intensity, emotionalism, because as we talked about, visualization plus emotionalization equals materialization. So we got a conundrum. What is the conundrum, Doc? Well, poor people are sitting at home bored. Why are they bored? Their heart is not in it. Why not? Because there's nothing that they've seen that stimulated the brain. So what do you got to do? What? I recommend you do what I did. What did I do? I got up and I got out of the hood, courtesy of the United States government. Now, maybe you don't have that option. Well, thankfully for you, we have this thing called Enter the Net. So, if you're in the hood right now, you can get up tomorrow morning and go to the public library. Well, maybe not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. Some libraries probably closed. But Monday morning, take the bus. You got this bus, you walk. And walk, ride a bike. Or you got a cell phone. Most people do. Tap into your neighbor's internet. What am I saying? You got the access to the world. You got the world in the palm of your hand. This is crazy. As I told you guys last night, man, you are one ideal away from being a millionaire. One ideal. Money is not paper. Money is an ideal. Money is an option. Money is an opportunity. Right now, all of these options, you have been presented with $1 million options. They come into your life every day. I recommend you do what I do. Reject most of them because they don't align with your desire. So I only entertain ideals. I only entertain options that are 336 related. So should you. So why? That way I know that my heart will sign off on my gut. So my gut sends it to the heart. The heart must endorse it before it's sent to the head, and the head will implement it. So what's happening is when things don't work, Your gut sends something up to your heart. Your heart says, damn, dog, I don't know, bro. I mean, this is a good idea, but there's 4 chambers, and we got to consult the Hashem. The 5th chamber of the heart is the walls of the heart. The walls, and I shouldn't tell you this because this is part of the private show that we'll be breaking down on September 7th or September 2nd. Because remember, the title of it is a little misleading on purpose. But I do not want, people who are not vibrationally significant to get this information from me. How to use debt. Because everybody says get out of debt. No, you need to get into debt. How to use credit. Everybody tell you don't use credit. Credit is bad. Well, there's good debt and bad debt. And there's good credit and bad credit. So credit is just like the brain. It's just like God. It's neutral. How you use it is good or bad. So everybody should set up their life so that way if you have no money coming in for a year, and if you're really, really smart, you can set it up so you could go for 5 years with no income and you still be fine. Because you have which I will set it up, because I'm going to show you how I got mine set up. I'm also will be interviewing Brother Jibide, and he's going to explain his system and how he has his system set up. So you can use my system or you can use his system. Most systems, at least I've been holding with my system for 10 years. That's why I'm able to go with long periods and nobody signs up for a show. Like I tell you guys, the last 3 months, 4 months, I really haven't made any money. And I just bought $1 million house. Just bought, brand new car. I'm here in Dallas. I've been spending money like I'm bringing in money. Because my standard of living is not based upon my income. That's a low vibrational standard that's given to peasants. The dominant culture, they don't live off income. They live off what you call borrowed money. Because you don't pay taxes on borrowed money. Remember the 1%, their assets make money. And they recycle that money and they keep it in the trust because you don't pay taxes. If I buy a car and it's in my trust or my business name, which is even better for me, like I told you guys on the way down here, why would I doing the show while I was driving my car? Because now I got documented proof. So the IRS comes and say, hey, you was in a hotel room on August the 27th of 2022. And that you got the hotel as a business expense. You went out to eat, you gas, oil change, everything I've done. Then I'm gonna submit my cell phone, my dry cleaning, everything on this trip. But I'm down here for my daughter's baby shower. But while I'm here, I am conducting business like I'm doing right now. So thank you, IRS. This is tax deductible according to your code. I ain't write your code. You did. So you should set your life up like that. So that way, your life is your business, and your business is your life. So when I'm sleeping, it's tax deductible. I'm making money when I sleep. I'm making money when I shower. I'm making money when I shave. I'm always making money. Because making money is what? Making money is an ideal. Making money is an opportunity. Making money is options. You got options. You got opportunity. You got the ability to implement specific ideals that's in line with your desire. And then your neurons, because you keep doing this over and over again, the neurons recruit more of your brains. Then you get to a place like me where your brain only sees opportunities. When I talk to people, I get a cold dose of water thrown in my face. It's a wake-up call. Because the average person I talk to, their brains don't work like mine. And I'm always reminded. This is why, even something as simple as doing one-on-one. When I do a one-on-one, I never send out a reminder, nor do I call the individual. Because That's low vibrational. That doesn't activate the heart chakra. So you gotta remember, everything I do is designed to put stress on you, to challenge you to see if you want to be you. Because I don't really believe you want to be you. I think you're lying to yourself. Most people don't want to be who they say they want to be. In my 25 years of experience, 99 out of 100 people do not want to do what they say they want to be and do. How do I know? Because when I tell them and give them the opportunity to be and do, they don't show up. Why? They thought they wanted to because they heard a show, they saw a TikTok video, and it looked good. You know, being an affiliate marketer looks good on TikTok. You know, being a reseller, being a wholesaler, being a drop shipper, you know, being a, you know, cosmetology or being an auto detail. But until you get the buffer, until you get you a little, what you call them, high pressure thing, so that way you can, you know, because you got to put the water in something, and you got to, how you going to move around? Just that you're a mobile detailer. I remember I had one of the nephews said he wanted to be a detailer. So I put up front the money. Got everything they need to be mobile detail. I ain't heard from him since. Another family member who said that, you know, hey, he wanted to be a digital marketer. I told him about my boy Billy G, and I said, man, hey, he's one of the best marketers out there. If you really want to learn Facebook marketing, you really want to learn YouTube marketing, you really want to learn TikTok marketing, yes, sir, I do. Okay, how much it costs? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, no problem. Here you go. My wife thought I was crazy. I said, why are you there? I said, no. I already knew, but I had to prove it to himself. Because he told everybody, this is it. Because what did I do, brothers and sisters? I did it 23 times with the business, 63 times with the job. So do you honestly think I lied to myself 23 times? If I see an 18-year-old kid, I know he lied to himself. There is no 18-year-old kid who knows what he wants to do. He has an ideal. Ain't nothing wrong with him. I have ideals every day. I just learned that my gut will send my heart an ideal. But my heart is not in it. So my head is not going to carry it out. It's not the neurons, 7 billion neurons. That's God. They lie and tell me. So God is asleep in your head right now. Not you personally, of course, but people you know. So you come to me, listen to these shows, but there's no action because God is asleep. God is a neuron. You got 7 billion gods in your head. And until all those gods become one, you need a clever marketing campaign. You need a gimmick. You got to sell because you're not going to attract because you're not a dark hole. Your melanin is not activated. The crystals in your blood are not congealed. You're not a photonic being. Me either. I'm not telling you something that I read out of a book. I'm in the same boat. That's why I'm doing the show. So your job and my job is to understand the neurons in the brain. All 7 billion of them are not working together because there isn't enough neuropeptide that's being released inside of the brain to bridge the synaptic gaps. So that way the thoughts are protected from the influence of outside activity. Neuronephrine is just like the myelin sheath. It is a protective cover over the neurons. So the neurons and the neurotransmitters that are covered by neuronephrine, guess what? The number one way to produce neuronephrine? Exercise. What do y'all think I do 2-3 times of exercise a day? I do that to protect my brain from being influenced from outside activity. Let me say it again. Why do I exercise, 3 times a day? 10, 15 minutes, 3 times a day to produce neuronephrine. Why? Norepinephrine is it's the myelin sheath of the neuron. It puts the brain in a defensive state against any thought that's not embedded in the heart, that did not come up from the gut. Now I'll be breaking it down further when we get into how to be rich by doing this. So credit and debt is actually mental dispositions that uses what we call cards and the credit reporting system. So the system that I use, which is, again, I have not heard it taught anywhere other than my boy who learned it from me. That's the Gold Grill Yard man down in Atlanta. And when we met, I was impressed with the fact that he was out cutting yards, and he was a young guy. And he was doing it at a scale instead of going to school, to the disapproval of his mother and father, whom I met because they were clients too, and recommended that, hey, you can't make a living doing landscaping. Well, as he will tell you out of his own mouth, like Sister Candace is doing with digital marketing right now, like the nephew who I paid for to do the course, he took the course. He graduated. I haven't heard from him since. Why? He did it for money, not for purpose. I already knew it. I had to prove it to him. That's the whole point. Well, that was a waste of a good, $5,000? Nope. That lesson is worth way more than $5,000. Some would argue all I did was save him about 5 years of his life. Because it would have took him 5 years to do what I just shortened his learning curve. I do that for a lot of people. Because I do for people what I wish someone had done for me. What do? I wish someone had told me, yo, bro, going to church, tithing, praying to Jesus, waste of time. And then I wish they would have took me out back after church and proved it to me. So that's what I do. I find somebody they're doing something, they got tears rolling down their cheek, Doc, this is it, dog. God is calling me to do this. Really? Yes, sir. Okay. Let me prove it to you. What do you need to do that? Oh man, if I had this, I had that. Shoot, that's it, dog. I'm in it to win it. Okay. When you want to start? And I give them exactly what they say they want. Why? Coping mechanisms. I did it. I didn't read it. I did it. Personal experience is the best teacher. Your last failure is your best teacher. That's why I love failure. This weekend I had a failure. I had a major failure. Man, that was the best lesson. I'm still taking notes. The greatest lesson. What was the lesson? What I'm teaching you right now. What am I teaching you? Who you think the problem is? That's not it. What's the problem? There isn't enough neuron activity in the brain to carry out. If the neurons in the brain are not activated, you're going to come up lame. That's it. Failure cannot happen unless there isn't a strong enough operating system, which means all your neurons are not on board. That typically means you have a lack of brain scurvy. There isn't enough neuronephrine in the brain to protect your thought from invasion. So you got neuronephrine. A thought comes in and say that shit's not going to work out. But you got enough neuronephrine to protect the brain from outside attack. That's how you build credit. And that's how you use debt to pay bills. Because guess what? People buy from people who know it's a blank, or at least they appear they know it's a blank, which is the power and the ability to do it. Influence others. Thoughts have to be protected from the influence of others if and when they are confronted with differences in opinion through chemicals that are released inside the brain at the same time as the ones that are released to ensure the brain. What that means? The brain is going to release chemicals that are dangerous to your new wanted experience. The brain is going to release cortisol, which is a survival, as soon as the neurons are activated. You must recruit all of the neurons, God, which then recruits the electrons and the protons, and that activates the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. What I'm talking about, though, I'm talking about it on a neuroplasticity level. I'm talking about it on a science level. I'm not talking religion. I'm not talking about thoughts and beliefs and all that stuff. That's great, because that's how it starts. But you need to understand the biochemistry. Because from a biochemical perspective, what's that mean? I make a decision that goes against my unwanted past. Now, my unwanted past says, Doc, I need you to be safe, brother. I don't want you to take no risk. So my unwanted past, let's say, for example, thankfully I haven't, but let's say I had a major accident driving from San Antonio to Dallas. Because I make that, used to be 6, now 4-hour drive, because I got a Corvette now. So I can save time, because I can drive faster. And it got more toll roads too. So now I can do a 6-hour drive in 4 hours. But let's say I had a unwanted past experience, that every time I got in the car, that thought would come back, because I had a bad accident because a lot of 18-wheelers. Well, every time I get in that car, that chemical would be released. I would have PTSD from the unwanted past. That chemical is released inside of my brain every time I want to repeat that behavior. Everybody has chemicals released inside of the brain. Anytime you establish a wanted future and you bring it into the present, as long as your wanted future is in the future, like one day in the by and by, Jesus is going to come and he's going to scoop us all up. Okay, that's one day down the by. Okay, the brain, no cortisol. The reticular activating system is not going to keep you in survival mode because you're not thriving. There's no threat to your survival. But the moment you bring your wanted future into the present reality, the unwanted past is going to release chemicals to destroy or influence the wanted future. That just happened to me this weekend. So a wanted future was brought into the present. But the unwanted past says, I don't think so, homie, not today. And that influence, that chemically influenced, that frequency then can't hold that new reality. Failure is a lack of neurons that's able to hold the future in the present so it goes back to the future. It's like the movie Back to the Future. Why do you think they made a movie Back to the Future? Go back and watch that one. That was what? Ooh, I was a kid when I watched that one. That was like in the 70s, I think. That's an old one. Remember Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future? What was he trying to look at his name? Michael, Archangel, J. There is no J. Jesus, Fox. What does FOX stand for in numerology? FOX, 666. They put it right in the movie. The actor, Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future. So your dream is going back to the future. So your money, going back to the future. Your health, back to the future. Why? You can't hold it in the present. You got to bring the future, because remember, how does the brain work? Well, faith. Well, what is faith? Pistis, Pistis, and Python. What is that? That means, according to the Gospel of Thomas, you must immerse your brain in your desires fulfilled. Oh, whoa, we got to time out. Time out, Doc. I'm supposed to live mentally in a place where my desires are fulfilled today. Yes, sir. So I don't know what that is for you. What does that look like for you? Now, I know what it looks like for me, but what does it look like for you? So right now, do you feel, let's be honest, that your desires are fulfilled financially? So let's say your desire is to be a millionaire. Okay, how do millionaires feel? Well, millionaires, we feel really confident. Because millionaires, the reason that we're confident, the reason that we're cocky, the reason that we're, some people say arrogant, the reason that millionaires are tightwads, the reason that millionaires are control freaks, the reason that millionaires account for all of their money, because they know that the universe rewards stewardship, good steward. For some reason or other, the universe rewards good stewards. If you're a bad steward, If you're bad at accounting, it's going to be difficult for you to be a millionaire. Now, you don't have to be anal retentive about it. What you got to do is you got to have awareness of what's coming in and what's going out. And you got to have a sense of understanding that when too much is going out, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. The universe don't care why it's going out. The universe just wants you to care. Care means awareness. Awareness means perception. Perception means the ability to see something coming. So I can see that if more money is going out, then more money is coming in. I'm not going to stop the money that's going out. I'm going to increase the money that's coming in. Because we live in a universe of abundance. So the universe tests you to see if you're going to punk out. Punk out means you go backwards, back to the future. Or are you going to stay in the wanted future? Because in the future, I'm bringing the future into the present. So I'm living today the way I'm living in the future. And guess what happens? The future becomes today. So I'm living in the future today. Wealthy, healthy, wise, get my toes curled. Now, then the big question is, well, what happens when there's a breakdown in the unwanted past and the wanted future? You examine the breakdown. And when you see, why was there a breakdown in the manifestation? When you want something to manifest and it doesn't manifest, you have to confront the differences in opinions. And when you confront the differences in opinions, you will find that the brain interferes with rational thinking. What does that mean? Well, to ensure our survival in dangerous situations, the brain interferes with rational thinking, and the limbic system, your limbic system, will actually block out or start to work on causing narrow-mindedness. Because remember, your limbic system is also your system that protects you from getting sick. And so anytime the limbic system is activated, it's the brain saying that what you are doing or asking is physically, potentially causing a specific problem with our survival. Anytime the wanted future poses a threat to past survival, limbic system is activated. We call that the nervous system, but it's the endocrine system. That's your white blood cells. That creates a little what we call anxiety. Why? That's a threat. Why is it a threat? Just because it's unknown. It's not a threat. It's just I never did it before. But what that does, it challenges the wanted future. So when the limbic system is activated, from a neuroscience perspective, it attacks the neurons that contain the wanted future. So what happens is your limbic system only does this because he says, we never did this before, Doc. This could cause stress, so we got to produce more white blood cells to fight off any foreign invaders where there is no threat of sickness, but because the brain is looking for a memory where you've done this before, it doesn't find one. The brain releases chemicals called cortisone. It's called adrenaline. Why? We never did this before. I never went bungee jumping. If I decide tomorrow to go bungee jumping, my brain is going to send me my reticular activating system, my limbic system is going to send me bruh, this is not reasonable and logical. This is a risk. Why are we doing this? And so the reticular activating system is survival. But we're interested in thriving because we're millionaires. So with a millionaire, you got to do what? Well, you got to look at your options. You got to look at your opportunities. You got to look at your choices. You got to do what? You got to make a decision. Some of those decisions require you to take a risk. All of that activates the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is going to release chemicals inside of the limbic system. And to the degree that you're able to manage your anxiety, your fear, and it's not fear that you are afraid. It's fear because it has not been done. So this is physically causing narrow-mindedness. It is a way by which we keep you safe, the reticular activating system. But it comes at the expense of God or neurons. Because what does it do? Well, the limbic system activates and it interferes with what is called the dendrite ganglia and the amygdala, which is parts of the brain that helps you regulate reason and logic, and you can get stuff done. So what happens is it narrows, you get tunnel vision, you get nervous, and you don't doubt, you become hypersensitive of possibilities. That's all the brain needs, again, to flat doubt. So what is your job? Your job is to be all in. What does all in mean? What is the wanted future that you're bringing into the present reality? Is the wanted future that you bring into the present reality more powerful than the unwanted past? If it is not, then guess what's going to happen? Some kind of way, it's not going to work. There's 1,000 different ways that the brain can sabotage what your wanted future is. But if your wanted future is so powerful that it overrides all of your awareness, and again, remember, this is legitimate. We're not talking about something that's popped up because you just, this is your first rodeo. No. We're talking about the brain only finds legitimate reasons that's a threat to your limbic system. Meaning that there's a possibility that this could cause harm to your physical health. And so the brain is going to run past every possibility. If I go skydiving, I know what skydiving, what if I jump out the plane and I pull the thing and it doesn't work? Well, the brain is going to bring that situation up and say, you go bungee jumping and the cord pops. Now, there's a 1 in a billion chances that it happens, but it could happen when you do it. So the brain's going to bring that up. Is that not a possibility? Reason and logic says, it's slight, but it is. So unless there's enough God, enough confidence, enough neurons, enough I want this to override, I don't care about that 1% possibility of something negative happening, you're going to sabotage it. And it's not you that's sabotaging it, really. As we'll break down, this is how credit works. This is why the class that we're doing on the 2nd, it's more a class about brain and neuron management than it is a class, as you will see, about getting credit cards, applying through my sources that I've been using for the last 10 years, and using my system of getting paid, selling. If I sell a book for $20, I just make $60 because of the way that I'm able to process the payment of $20. So that way, on paper, I got paid 3 times, but I only got paid once. But the goal is to understand how to set your system up so that way you qualify legally for 3 times the amount of access. So wealth is access. It's It's not necessarily having $1 million. It's having access to $1 million. So I just closed on a $1 million house that the banks and everybody told me 3 days up till it was time to close on the house that I didn't have access. And like I told you guys, how did I get access when according to all of the lenders and the underwriters, I didn't qualify for that level of access? Well, that's what I'm going to teach you on the 2nd and on the 15th. So you can learn it. Because when I learned it, I was like, how come they don't teach this to everybody? So everybody needs to learn how to put yourself in a position so that way if you do need access, now if you don't need it, then don't use it. Please don't use it. Just make sure you have it available. Just because you get a $100,000 line of credit or credit card or access don't mean you go and run it up on junk. That's what poor people do. So we need a teacher. What I'm going to be breaking down is God. God is access. Access is being neutral. Being neutral means that you are hardwired and you rewired your brain for success by understanding these simple brain hacks that releases stress because you've discovered your purpose that supports your new cognitive neuroscience, that every cell and all of these cellular and molecular nucleotides or the nucleus of each cell is tied together to purpose. When that happens, you exude a synaptic, how can I put this without giving away too much? You establish what's called a emotional brain, meaning that you think, feel, act, imagine, head, heart, and gut, they're all the same. If you ever get to that state, I call it the gamma brainwave state. When I got to this state that Harvard calls, and some other people call it the emotional brain state, there's new research that talks about the synapses are encoded with the essence of purpose, enabling you to function in a distinctive, integrated individual. What we talked about last time. What was the last show that we just completed? Remember, I sent you 20 hours of content, 3 books, and 7 hours of content based upon Harvard's state of the state that I've been in, which I've been begging you to get in. The unified. It's a universal, unified state. When you are universally unified with Source, remember Source is neutral though. That means you don't go into anything with an encoded or embedded opinion. Man, that means I can walk into any room and since I'm neutral, I can't be gassed. Nobody can love bomb me or gaslight me because I don't have a carrot. It's like playing poker and nobody can read me. They don't know. It's like if we're in a meeting, you don't know if I'm for, let's see, what's a controversial topic? What just came out, pro-life stuff. So I'm going in there and I'm sitting in front of Congress and I'm up to speak and they don't know if I'm for abortions or against abortions. They don't know if I'm for pro-life or against pro-life because I'm coming there neutral because I'm gathering evidence to see which position is the closest or the one that takes me in the direction of my God-given destiny. So every time an opportunity or an option presents itself, I'm neutral. I'm not for Bitcoin. I'm not against Bitcoin. I'm not for the blockchain. I'm not against the blockchain. I'm neutral. And the neurons are activated from my gut to my heart to my head, and that activates my neurons, which recruits the electrons and the protons, so I have whole brain thinking. When that happens, that activates what science is starting to call the emotional brain. That limits you and prevents you from having toxic shame, because now everything that you visualize in your head with your mind's eye, everything that you can emotionalize with your heart, you're able to realize with your gut. And when you're in that state, all of the mechanisms of the synaptic self, which is self-awareness, that's correct. It's crazy, but I'm telling you, money is nothing but confidence. People give money to people who don't need money. If you thirsty, some kind of way they can pick it up. Relationships are the same. If you are a man and you don't have status, and if you don't have options, you will never get no digits. That's just the universe. That's the way it works. I put this inside of my book, The Ether, the theory, which it says you can't, if you put energy into something, you push it away. If you pull energy out of something, you pull it towards you. But if you are neutral to it, you own it. I've been saying the same thing for 20 plus years ever since I wrote the book. The etheric force, ever since I found out ether is God. Neurons are God. So again, in closing, which is the whole purpose of the class on September the 2nd, is for you to get into a brain state. And that brain state is one where you own everything. You are not desperate. You are not thirsty, because you have passion. And once you have been given everything that you need for life and godliness, bam, all your needs have been met. Everything that you're doing now is just like dessert. Hey, I already ate. I'm full. I just got a taste for some key lime pie. If I don't get this key lime pie, am I going to go jump off a bridge? No, because I'm full. I just was seeing if you guys had key lime pie. So if you don't have key lime pie, I'm not elated. I mean, if you do have it, I'm not elated. I'm just, I'm just going to eat. I really don't need it. I just like the taste. And if you don't have it, I kind of really don't need it anyway, so I'm good. In other words, if you got the key lime pie, okay, I'm good. If you don't have the key lime pie, shit, I'm better. Anyway, you blessed me. When you are in that state, you own, that's credit. Credit and debt is when you are in a mental state. Notice I didn't say shitness about the credit score or the amount of money you got. Man, when you guys get to this level of understanding, as we're going to be breaking down in the second, and as we laid the foundation already by breaking down quantum mechanics, which simply means the physics or the spirit of the physical realm. When you understand, you tie this along with the class coming from the 15th, so that now you can take the mental disposition. When you talk to a banker and they say, well, you know what, we're going to need you to do this, that, and that. You say, well, you know what, I thank you so much for, getting an opportunity to work with you, but I don't really need your underwriting department because I'm not going to provide, this, that, and the other. Because there's someone else who's willing to extend me this line of credit without that level of oversight. So thank you so much, but I will withdraw my application at the time. Watch how fast they call you. I just did it. But if you thirsty and be like, well, shit, I'm going to need all your tax returns. I'm going to access your bank account. I'm going to know how your money's coming in, how you're spending your money. No, I ain't give you all of that. Well, shit, that's what the underwriting department needs. Well, shit, thank you very much. I appreciate your service. I'm going to go over here with, ABC Enterprises. They don't require all of that. And then click, hang up the phone. Watch what happens. Why? Confidence. You got options. And you're a rock star. You got status. You're not a peasant. You're not thirsty. and you're not desperate. But remember, it's mental. Because if you are thirsty and if you are desperate, that sends a frequency to the bank. And the bank says, this Negro is thirsty. We don't loan the thirsty Negroes. It's mental. It's a mind game. Life, excuse me, is a mind game. Relationships is a mind game. Making, health is a mind game. Because what is mental? Spirit. So you're supposed to walk in the spirit. Man, when you get to this level, the game changes. Brothers and sisters, I love you. Appreciate you. We see everybody mañana. God bless.